Trey Lance was Trey Lance given a fair shot for the starting job in your opinion?
Man, so this is a pretty loaded question because I feel like the answer is yes, but with a caveat. And so here's what I mean by that. He was given a fair shot in the sense that I really think Shanahan wanted him to earn that starting job. Like, I think he wanted him to be the starter. So he put him out there, and I look mostly at that LA game against the Chargers, right? And I think that the plan was we're going to go with Jimmy for a series, and we're going to go with Trey for two, we're going to go with Jimmy for another. And at that point, they really wanted to see them side by side, like one right after the other. How does this offense look? And they were hoping that Trey would come in and steal the job. But he didn't quite do that, right? And I think it's fair to say that he didn't quite do that. So, yes, he was given a fair shot from the standpoint that they wanted him to be the starter and they tried to make it be set up so that that would be the case. But they didn't give him a fair shot in the case that they didn't really use him to his strengths. Like, they basically said, hey, you run the Jimmy G offense, and if you're better at that than Jimmy G, you're the starter, versus, hey, let's run everything you do. And what's crazy to me is if that if the LA game was that jumping off point of where they wanted him to win the job, and that was basically where it all crescendoed, it's funny to me that the next week after they had already made their decision, being Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the main guy, right? But they're splitting, whatever that means. That the next week, that's when they open up the playbook. Now we're doing read options. Now we're moving the launch point. Like, well, yeah, do that the week before. Like, if you really want to see what this offense is going to look like with Trey, then do what Trey does. Don't do this Jimmy Garoppolo offense and expect him to be better at Jimmy than that. And until he is, he doesn't earn this job. Like, that's where I kind of go off, right? And the thing is like, I'm cool with the way that Shanahan managed Lance. I think he did the right thing by putting him in tough situations and figuring out what his weaknesses were and forcing him to work on those. Like, I'm open to that if he's the starter. But if he's not the starter, then what's the point? So I don't know. I'm kind of all over the board. Yes, he was given a fair shot as far as playing time. Did they want him to be the starter? Yes, I believe so. But did they actually utilize him the way that he would be utilized in a game if he was a starter? Absolutely not. I'm not buying that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that last statement, and that they didn't really utilize him in the way that he's probably going to be utilized when he's in the game. And we saw that on Sunday against the Raiders, right? Where you can see how they're going to utilize. They showed more of what he's going to do for them, what he brings to the table in terms of the way that they constructed the running game and those kind of things. I do think that he was given a fair shot overall. They basically, I agree again with you, unfortunately, that they wanted him to win the job. That was the goal. You could hear that by what was coming out of there as well, right? Out of Santa Clara, where it was leading up to the Chargers game when John Lynch talked about, Trey Lance closing the gap on Jimmy Garoppolo and so on. So I'm pretty sure that they went into that game with the thought of, if this guy goes out here and does really well, he's going to start to take over. And unfortunately, he just never did that. He, for whatever you want to say about Garoppolo and Lance, they've played very similar throughout the preseason when given similar opportunities, right? They both played about the same number of series with the quote starters, and we know that not all of the starters were on the field because Trent Williams and Alex Mack weren't out there with them, but everybody else was pretty much starters. And the results were not what you'd want if you were Trey Lance. At least in my opinion, I don't think they were, because he had opportunities within those series that he had to make plays and continue the drives. And I think if he had done that, we're looking at a different story. Like in that Chiefs game, if he had hit his hot read and completed the first down there, or, even if Brandon Ayuk catches the ball after he scrambles or he just makes a throw out of the pocket, those kind of things. There's little things I think that held him back that caused him not to just blow Garoppolo out of the water. And I think that's really what Shanahan, the feeling that I get is that Shanahan needs to see him really just step over him, not just be on the same level, but he wants to see him. And it has to be no doubt. And this gets into a lot of things I think outside of the football field as to why I think he was hoping that was going to be the case. Because if you go back and you think about all the things that have been said, one of the main ones that I kind of keep going back to with Shanahan was, you're going to know that he should be the start. Everybody's going to know when he's ready to be the starter. And that's where I say that Lance just didn't do a good enough job of just taking it and making it so that everybody on the team, forget about the people in the stands for a minute, but the people on the team, those veterans, which are the guys that he's got to pull over to his side, he didn't do enough to bring those guys over. I think that's kind of what's holding him back.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, I've said it in the past, but if this was a championship fight, right? This is different. Like when I look at Chicago's situation, Fields absolutely should be the starter because Fields is new to the team and so is Andy Dalton. It's not like Andy Dalton has done anything for Chicago. So Fields should be the starter. And if Lance had that same situation here, he would be the starter. There's no doubt in my mind. But Jimmy is the champ in the sense that he was there when they went to the Super Bowl. He was a part of this team. The locker room trusts him. And in order to be the champ, you've got to beat the champ. And it's not like Jimmy won the fight either. Let's be clear. Like this was a split decision. One judge gave it to Jimmy. One judge gave it to Lance. And ultimately the tiebreaker went to Jimmy because he came in with the belt and Lance didn't knock him out. And it was a close, razor-thin decision. And so you've got to go with the incumbent or the champion in this case, right? And so that's what I believe actually happened here. I still think it's the wrong move. I don't agree with it, but I think that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, and I agree with you on there. That's a really good analogy and one that I think fits here because I think that's really the situation. I think that again, I mentioned earlier, if he'd gone out and did everything that he had, that we've seen him be able to do, I think he takes the job. And I agree with you.